All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined from Wisconsin by Anthony Karls. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, and Anthony's the president of Rocket Clicks, a seasoned executive with a proven track record in integrating teams, cultivating strong company cultures, driving substantial profitability. In 2013, you took a simple idea and transformed it into a powerhouse law firm, scaling from zero in revenue to a very impressive, I have to add, 15 million ARR in just over 9 years. So that's quite an achievement. Anybody who knows anything about scaling businesses and getting to 50 million in ARR will know how difficult that is. So congratulations. And what we're going to talk about today is mastering organic search. Um, so, Anthony, let's face it, organic search is one of those things where it always feels like the goalposts are always moving, right? It almost feels like they're on wheels and they never stop. You figure out one algorithm, then Google changes it, then AI search comes into the mix, and before you know it, you just, like I said, the AI or this SEO people that I know, whatever, they're just constantly kind of battling the knowledge gap.
Yeah, it's a game without rules. It's kind of that's how I kindly like to put it. Is there's
Mhm.
you're essentially playing a game against the smartest engineers in the world who have written a beautiful search engine, and you're supposed to figure out how to create a website that's valuable enough for
Mhm.
their company to show you. So and they don't tell you how to do it. They just say make it valuable. So
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly. So how do you start to be able to play the game a little bit smarter and maybe keep on top of it?
Sure. So I think SEO gets overcomplicated. Honestly,
Hmm.
I think SEO is generally something that is very first principle based, and it's built on a really old technology actually, because it's library science. And anybody that used the Dewey Decimal System when they were back in
Yeah.
their elementary years, you basically kind of get how Google is working, because that's essentially what Google's doing. They're just doing it digitally. Um, and if you put it in that framework and you think about, all right, what are periodicals, what are journals that are cited the most, what are things that
Mhm.
are the most important things, what do those entities have in abundance of, that make them so good? And it's, they're referenced, they're cited, they have quality content, they're discovering new things, they're putting out interesting topics. And that's what you need to do for your website. It's not,
Mhm.
if you chase the algorithm, you're going to get yourself frustrated. If you think about it, this is a digital library. I think that was the original intention of it, is they wanted to index the world's information into the world's largest digital library. That's what they've done. And
Mhm.
LLMs have come in. They're doing something similar in a lot of ways. When you talk about AI in
Yeah.
SEO, and they're doing a lot of the same types of things. Now they do it differently, obviously, because it's tons and tons of what's the next right word. But
Mhm.
uh, in in principle, they're looking for, and if you do like a deep research project with
Yeah.
ChatGPT, for instance, you can see like they're going through and they're citing their sources, and they're figuring out, is this correct? Is it not? Is it correct? Is it not? And they're going through a very significant
Yeah.
validation process.
So a lot of it really comes back to the fundamental of having good quality content, making sure it's valuable, and it's because let's face it, like over this whole content marketing and all of that over the last number of years or whatever, like the world has gotten flooded with so much garbage content, if you like.
Exactly.
Um, it just seems to me that it's like that age old thing. There are no real shortcuts. You got to do the fundamentals first.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, just get into the mind of the person that you're serving. So, when we were building our law firm, you know, we spent a lot of time just thinking about, like, what are the things that they're stressed out about? We should write articles about that. What are the
Mhm.
things they're concerned about? What are the decisions that they're going to have to make, or they're going to be forced to make? So, and what are all those things, and how can we create guides and resources and articles for that? And it creates a really good, engaging website. Um, and what you end up doing is you attract other people that reference you. We built lots of calculators. Our calculators were referenced by a lot of different people online because they were valuable. So, we just played off the fundamentals and just leveraged that. And that's been a huge advantage. And I think it's not get out of the keyword tool and quit trying to like manipulate Google. Think about what the user is looking for, and then calibrate that with the keyword tool so that you can actually maximize the opportunity versus just chase it, but you don't really understand the intention, because that's a lot of times what we missed.
Yeah, I mean, that's such good advice. And I guess what you were saying there is, so put yourself in the shoes of your customer or the audience that you're going after, and really try and serve up valuable content to them that they will use, and that's what eventually will get you noticed by the algorithm.
Yeah, 100%. And it's great for when you're driving paid traffic to your site, as those users have the same exact needs and wants and concerns as your organic ones do. And it's like a good way to validate and test.
Yeah. So, just talk a little bit about the impact of AI and how you said it's still kind of fundamentally the same. Because I see a lot of people now. People are even offering services. Oh, I'll get you, I'll get you SEO for AI and all that kind of stuff. So, tell me about the reality of that.
So, like I said, when we think about doing AI for the LLMs, we think about how is it processing the information it's delivering back to the user, and it is customizing it by the user's persona, because it will learn the user's persona. So what that means is you need to be more intentional with your content, and you need to be referenced and cited, because basically what the LLM is going to do is it's going to leverage search engines and then their indexes, but then it's going to cross-reference what maybe you're really good at manipulating Google,
right? But
you're not actually cited anywhere else on the internet in anything quality. And like the AI is going to see that, and they're not going to actually service you as like a top provider. We've seen that a lot, where it's like, okay, you get a site that's over backlinked on poor quality sites, and it doesn't actually have an entity in the LLMs as a strong factor. So there's a couple tools we use that kind of give us scores for this, so that we can actually see, like, is the entity Rocket Clicks known for helping family law firms grow? And if it's not, it tells us kind of where opportunities, where it isn't. Here's the top cited sources as it's doing its processes that you should consider investing in from a resource building capacity.
Right. So again, it comes back to the quality, the content, and understanding your target audience. And what is that? I mean, you were saying you when you came up with some real simple scenarios for trying to help people. I think sometimes, as you said, sometimes people overcomplicate, or even overcomplicate what their potential customers are even looking for.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And I think it's like we said before, just get back into the mind of the user, put yourself in their position and what are their concerns. So if you're, for a business that like yours that does CRMs, like there's going to be multiple buyers in that buyer persona process, right? So I don't know if these are the right stakeholders, but I'm assuming a CFO is part of the decision. I'm assuming the operations person's part of the decision. How are you addressing those two people in your content and in how you're delivering it? Because the CFO is going to care about, is this going to make me, more dollars and cents? Operations, is going to actually service my users and make them more efficient at their jobs? Can I track all the things I want to track so that I can get the right data back so I can improve my business? Creating that type of quality content is going to deliver the perception from the indexes, whether it's search or LLMs, that what you're talking about, because you're being specific, you're matching information with personas, and they're receiving what's expected, especially on the AI side.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important point as well, because I think there's a couple of issues that often I see companies have. Number one is they haven't defined their their target customer granularly enough, easy for me to say, and it's still too broad or it's too vague. And then, like you said, then they come up with a persona, as opposed to, in most B2B, there's more than one persona you're selling to, and they just tend to focus on on one of them, and then kind of the rest are an afterthought. But like you said, that's kind of hamstringing yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to this from experience doing it the wrong way. When we started our law firm back in 2013, we started it as a very generalist B2C consumer law firm. We did a little bit of everything, and we were really average. Our content sucked. Our website was not great. When we niched down to just family law firm, and really a niche within a niche, because we just did divorce and paternity actions, the constraint of that target, it skyrocketed the creativity exponentially, because now we could actually get into the shoes of the user and like start creating the content that mattered. And prior to that, not defining the audience, it was just like, we're just kind of we're just a law firm, and you should like us because we're great at marketing.
Yeah, and I love what you just said there, though, about the constraint, like, really helped you in the end, because I was talking to somebody else recently who's brought a number of businesses successfully to market and exited, and he said, define your customer as narrowly as you can, and then go back and define them even more. He says you can't get too granular, but like you said there, the perceived constraint actually forces you to be more creative, to be more focused on your target audience, to create more value from them. And then, like you said, then your business took off, as opposed to trying to be a generalist and kind of not.
I mean, the constraint almost like unlocks the creativity, because like now you're free to have a lot of ideas in a very specific space, instead of there's so many different things that this thing could be, and like, what do I start with, because the elephant's too big to start eating it, versus like, oh, okay, like for us it was females 30 to 45 years old, married with children, who were healthcare professionals. Like, that was our avatar for the law firm, and it gave us like very clear ideas on where to go with the content.
So what was the process of getting to deciding what your niche was going to be? Because again, this is something that people struggle with. People are always like, yeah, I'd love to have a niche solution and blah blah blah, but I can't get to it.
So when we went from generalist to niching down, prior to doing that, so in 2013, I was part of a company that had a product that was end of its life cycle. And we knew it was going to the business would probably shutter within the next 8 years. So in 2013, I was on a team to figure out where we were going to go next. We launched the law firm in 2014. So we had a lot of research done on like, what were the things that had good potentials. Then we did like what I said. We got so excited because there was so much opportunity, and we went after everything, and didn't work well, especially when we saw that come to reality about 18 months in. We grew fast, but it was just an average firm. It wasn't good. So we went back to our research, and we tried to identify like what was the stuff we were really excited about, that had really good opportunity, that had all the benchmarks of, we were really good at marketing online. We understand how to run business operating systems. We've learned how to exist without branding in a marketplace for a really long time. So like, what type of law matches up with that? And that's how we ended up landing on family, because there's not a lot of people that do any branding. They're super small and fragmented businesses. In the United States, there's 68,000 family law firms. 96% of them have 3 or fewer employees. It's just a massively fragmented marketplace. It's ripe for someone to come in and start gobbling up territory. And that's exactly what we did. And there isn't a lot of, a lot of the firms don't grow past 12 people internally, because they really struggle building systems for their team and their businesses. So it's like, all right, we're going to go after that one. Those had all the hallmarks of what we wanted, and the economics worked.
And then with that, then obviously you had the focus, and as you said, so then you could organize everything internally to just focus on this one niche and really go deep in it. How quickly did you gain traction there?
So the year we made our pivot, we did the pivot in February, so end of February. The year before we did 1.8 million. That year we did our pivot, even though we cut our revenues off by 40% and shrunk our team by over half. We still hit 1.8. And then the following year we did 3, then we did 6, then we did 9, then we did 12, and it just really grew very quickly after. So, that year, if you were to ask me to project it out, I wouldn't have said we would have been even with the prior year. I've been like, oh, we're starting over and we're cutting out like 60% of our revenue. That constraint actually gave us a ton of confidence on what we should be talking about and who we should be talking to. And it just opened up our marketing. It improved our consultations because now we knew exactly the person coming in, what their pain points were and what they needed. It improved our, internal onboarding system. So the quality of our relationships got better that year. So everything just got better. And then it really started to snowball in the years following.
And just tell me about that point when you were making that decision, you're realizing, okay, we're going to make this switch. All this revenue or this segment is going to go, all these other segments are going to go away. I mean, that's a scary prospect before, when you still haven't proven that you're on the right track. So, during that time, I mean, how nervous were you about, we're going to do this now and we're going to jettison all this stuff?
Very. I mean, it was a stressful year, but it was one of the best decisions I've been able to be a part of in a business. So, it was hard to lead the team. I would say if you're going to make a big change in a business, you should do it all at once, not drip it out, because the team, like you as the entrepreneur might be able to handle it, but your team they probably aren't going to stick with it because that's not what they signed up for. You hired them. Now you're changing what the business is. They might not want to be part of a startup.
And how did you manage how important was it to find some leading indicators to be able to give people confidence that you're on the right track?
So that was something we actually were really good at prior to. So we're actually releasing a book about this called the waterfall method. So we had a business operating system that we leveraged that was called the waterfall. And we could see in that was part of the reason we picked family law, those the breakpoints between user to phone call to lead to qualified lead to scheduled consult, all of those ratios, they were the most healthy in family law. And we knew we just needed to grow that bucket and then train on the sales process with our attorneys. So we kind of really understood what the leading indicators were. And we had been tracking them. So it was like, how fast can we get back from a volume perspective was really the game we were playing. So, but I think having metrics and key leading indicators is so important. I think that's where a lot of small businesses struggle, is they don't take the time, energy, or effort to actually track all of the stuff they should. And then they do a lot of retroactive, reactive, in the best case scenario, 30 days after a month is closed in your financial books. But a lot of times that's not even the case. They're just kind of doing gut and feel. I'm making moves and hopefully they're right. Versus
it is. It's unfortunately a lot of people just use the lagging indicators, and as you know, lagging indicators they're great information, but hey, it's over. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't impact it.
Exactly. It's the scoreboard. Like, okay, we already played that game.
Exactly. Well, listen, this has been fascinating, Anthony. Thank you for sharing. All of Anthony's information will be below this video. But before we go, please remind people about what you do.
Yeah. So I'm the president of Rocket Clicks. We are a growth agency exclusively built for family law firms. So we are excited to help anybody that fits. We do all sorts of digital advertising and operations management. Yeah.
So as you've heard, I mean, SEO, getting very focused, understanding your customer, which hopefully you would if you're a small, family law business, and then leveraging skills like Anthony's and his company bring to the table to maximize your audience. So thank you again for sharing those insights. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.